Princess Zelda, in her normal regal dress, ascended the stairs in a dimly lit part of the mansion. This was an area of the immense mansion that very few visited, for soon to be revealed reasons. She was tense, and each rising step only increased her tension. The air itself was charged with deep magic and so much power she could literally taste it. Her own magic felt small in comparison to what she felt at that moment. It wasn't oppressive or malicious, it was simply overwhelming, like swimming in the deep part of the ocean after spending your whole life swimming in a pool. But she pressed on. Zelda had concerns, and the only person she felt was wise enough to give her the answer she needed. The God Floor. That's what everyone called it. It was the top of the mansion, occupied by only those smashers whose powers utterly dwarfed anyone else's. Otherwise known as beings unto gods, and in some cases, very literal gods. There was no rule to say that no one was allowed to come up there. Far from it, everyone was welcome. It was just that if you have that much concentrated power in one location, it felt like you didn't belong at all. So unless you had some pressing business, you stayed away from the God Floor. Zelda entered the common room, or what passed for one in this area. The room was colored in a bluish hue, as if the night sky itself lived inside of it. The ceiling had gems embroidered into it, resembling that of constellations. Light shone in from beautifully decorated windows that didn't seem like mortal hands made them. There were a few tables and chairs around the room, some even floating above the floor a few inches. This truly felt like Zelda walked into the realm of the gods. She saw Rosalina's rocking chair. It was empty. Normally, the cosmic goddess would be sitting there, book in hand, reading to one of her many lumas. She assumed she was out and about, probably with Luigi. Zelda wasn't sure of the exact nature of their relationship. She only knew that she and the lesser Mario brother were very close. Floating next to one of the windows was a Pokemon. Not one like Pikachu or Pichu or Jigglypuff. This Pokemon was far from the rest that lived in the mansion. This was the only known legendary Pokemon amongst the Smashers. This was Mewtwo. The pale psychic type was staring out the window. What he was looking at she didn't know and did not want to bother him by asking. She knew well enough that he did not suffer fools, and was not one to be treated like other Pokemon. Just then he turned one of his deep purple eyes at her. Zelda froze for a second. She didn't want to give him any reason to unleash his powerful psychic abilities upon her. She merely filled her mind with neutral thoughts as to not gain his ire. It seemed to work since he turned from her and returned to watching whatever it is that had his attention. In the center of the room were two other Smashers. One she wanted to see, the other she rather didn't. Seated at a small round table was a woman clad in gold and white robes and sported a long mane of emerald green hair. This was Palutena, the Greek goddess of light. No matter how many times she sees her, she is always left breathless. When she first met Pit, her chosen champion, he would go on and on about how much he loves her and how grateful he was to be in her service. Only when she finally did meet her did she understand why he was so utterly devoted to her. Despite her youthful appearance, she possessed incredible wisdom. Ironic, since she, the bearer of the Triforce of Wisdom, would be seeking her advice. But she had to admit that the goddess was infinitely wiser than her. She carried herself with a divine grace that seemed to charm everyone around her. But she didn't act like a god, as one would expect. She was not arrogant or petty or above anyone else. She treated everyone equally and fairly. The perfect goddess. Then there was the person sitting across the table from her. She knew this person well enough. She and Link were connected to him by destiny and time. He was the king of evil, the bearer of the Triforce of Power, the bandit king himself, Ganondorf. Dressed in his normal Gerudo attire, he sat with his palm under his chin, watching the goddess across from him. Normally, Ganondorf would have noticed her arrival and made some kind of snide remark, but not this time. His sharp red eyes firmly fixed on the woman across from him. Zelda looked down on the table. There was a chessboard set up between them, and judging by the position and number of pieces on the board, this game was still very early. But it brought up something odd about this whole situation. Ganondorf was not the type to really hang out with anyone, yet here he was, playing a game with someone else who wasn't a villain. In fact, now that she remembered it, Ganondorf hung around her more than anyone else. And what's stranger is that Palutena didn't mind him being around her. In fact, she seemed to like having him around. Despite the warnings from her, Link, and her angels, Palutena seemed to know how to handle him. As she inched closer to the pair, she was able to catch bits of their conversation, which was a win for her. She was a bit curious about what these two beings, one of pure light and the other of absolute darkness, would talk about. "The game has begun, goddess," rumbled Ganondorf as he watched her make her move. "You should move quickly." "I will move when I feel the mood is right, King," she quipped, not at all threatened by him. "The mood can easily move against you. If you wait, you will be taken." "Taken by who?" She slowly pushed a pawn forward. Ganondorf moved forward. "By someone who has the power to take you." "Oh, Ganny, it's always about power with you." He snarled loudly. That damn nickname, he thought to himself. It was one that Palutena had given him the first day they met, and he hated it. But he allowed it. He let her call him that again and again and again. He made threats to her for calling him by that name. She still does it, and he still allowed it. But only her. Falco thought he could get away with it by calling him Ganny to his face. Falco flew 5 miles from the mansion with a single warlock punch. From then on, no one called him that name again. "I have warned you about using that disgusting nickname with me, woman. Keep at it and you will be punished." "Am I threatened, O King of Evil?" Zelda had to blink a few times. She couldn't believe what she just saw. Palutena inched forward a bit and almost seductively crossed her barely dressed legs. She couldn't have done that on purpose. Not for Ganondorf of all people. "You are promised, goddess of light." Ganondorf leaned in close. His scowl morphed into a crooked grin. Zelda wasn't sure exactly what she was seeing or hearing. She wasn't sure if they were threatening each other or flirting with each other. And frankly, she preferred the former to the latter. Zelda cleared her throat, the two gods snapping out of their whatever it is that was, and turned to the princess. Palutena smiled. Ganondorf frowned. "Zelda! What a pleasant surprise." "Palutena?" Zelda gave a small bow. Palutena didn't require or want people to bow to her, but for Zelda it seemed appropriate for a divinity. "And the wayward princess appears. Joy." Zelda gave him a death glare, which he ignored. "Oh, don't be mean, Ganny. He's just upset that I was winning." The king crossed his arms like a pouting child. "If that's what you want to believe." "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Nonsense. You're always welcome here. Mewtwo," she called out to the floating psychic Pokemon. "A chair and some tea for our guests." Without a word, Mewtwo raised his hands and caused a slight blue aura to surround it as he called upon his psychic powers. A chair floated across the room and slided perfectly under Zelda, allowing her to sit at the table. From above, a cup and saucer drifted down and placed itself neatly in her hands. "Thank you, Mewtwo." The Pokemon just grunted a reply before returning to the window. Zelda had a few sips of the warm tea as Palutena spoke again. "So what can I do for you?" The princess started to open her mouth, but looked over at Ganondorf with a rather unconcerned look on her face. "I would rather we talk in private. It is a personal matter." She saw her discomfort and assumed correctly it was related to her chess partner. "Oh, don't worry about him. Ganny won't tell anyone." "Maybe," he snarked, an evil smile growing across his face like a bad weed. "See? You can trust him." Despite the goddess's usual level of trust of the man, Zelda was still unnerved by his presence. "Not to insult your wisdom, Palutena, I still feel it would be better if we were alone for this." Ganondorf let off a sigh that sounded more like a feral growl than anything else. "If it has anything to do with that velocity-obsessed vermin who sticks to you all the time, then there is no point to secrecy." Zelda covered her mouth. You know? It's my business to know, princess. The difference is I just don't care. He leaned back in his seat, signaling that he wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Have your woman's talk. Just be quick about it so I can finish off the goddess. So quick to finish, Ganny. I thought you had more stamina than that. You tease, goddess. In your case, it's what I do best, she said with a cheeky wink. Now, what's this personal business that involves Sonic? Zelda was getting a little uncomfortable, and not just from Ganondorf being near her. Still, she pressed on. Well, we had a date yesterday. Ooh, a date, she said excitedly, clapping her hands together. I was hoping for this. So what happened? What did you two do? Zelda took another sip of her tea. We didn't do much. Just a picnic lunch. Then went for a swim. We talked. Came back home. And he stayed over. Like a sleepover. Yeah, only we didn't sleep much. Zelda's face turned deep red as she admitted that to the goddess. The green-haired beauty put her hand over her mouth while Ganondorf let out a deep, throaty laugh at it all. So that's it. I didn't think he was your type. Glad my personal life is such a source of amusement for you, she spat. Thank you. It is, he said proudly. Zelda muttered a curse under her breath. She did so out of respect for Palutena. The goddess had heard her. She didn't seem to mind. Ganny snarked aside. That's so sweet. Oh, I wish Aphrodite were here. Oh, she loves a good, unlikely romance. Zelda sighed as she finished off her tea. That does me a great honor, but I'm conflicted. Why is that? We talked about, and we're trying to decide what to do from here. Well, it's obvious. It is? Zelda asked the deity. Yes. Date him. The royal was a bit flabbergasted at the straightforwardness of Palutena. She answered it as if she was asked what she wanted to eat or what movie to see. It was almost off-putting in how blunt it was. Palutena, I do not wish to question your wisdom, but it's not as simple as you make it out to be. Why not? Do you not like him? Of course I do. I like him very much. Really? But we're different. Oh, because you're of royalty and he is a commoner. No, I mean, I'm a human and he's a hedgehog. Palutena's face was impassive. I know that. I don't think I'm understanding you. We're two totally different species. It's just not common for us to be together. After a few seconds of soaking in her words, Palutena started to giggle, much to Zelda's confusion. Oh, dear. Zelda, you are so mortal. I don't think I understand. Zelda, I am a goddess. Thus, I have a rather unique perspective when it comes to mortals. To me, you are all the same. Excuse me? Palutena put up her hands defensively. I didn't mean that in a bad way. I mean I see you all equally. That's the interesting thing about you mortals. You focus too much on that which is not the same instead of that which is the same. It shouldn't matter that you two are different on the outside. All that matters is that you are the same on the inside. You are correct, Palutena, said Zelda. But I wish I could solve it as easily as you make it sound. The monarch of Hyrule dating a super-fast hedgehog. That would cause such a scandal. Enough! Ganondorf growled as he slammed his fist on the table, but somehow not knocking over the chess pieces. This chattering is getting on my nerves. Ganny, said Palutena, angered by his outburst. Quiet, woman. I grow weary of Zelda's pathetic mewling. You bastard. Foregoing any sense of civility and manners, Zelda rose to her feet and began surging with magical powers. She would not stand to be insulted by such a manner. She would not stand to be insulted in such a manner, least of all by him. Still, the Dark King remained seated, unmoved by her fury. At first your woes amused me, but now seeing you act so pathetic and weak has left a bad taste in my mouth, and I wish you gone. So in order to do this, I will do what I have never done before. I will help you. The flame magic that pulsed in her hand dulled, unsure as to how she should take what she had been offered. But still, she recalled her magic and allowed him to speak. You are a monarch, Zelda. Loath I am as to admit it. You rule your people and your land with a fair, albeit weak hand. You protect your people, and you do the one thing you ought to do. You don't enjoy your power. You do for others, but you do not do for yourself. Your own happiness at the expense of the masses. And now, when you are finally free to have someone, you hold yourself back because of what people think. He stood up, erect to his full height, towering over both women. I am the king of the Gerudos. I have been king since I was a child. I have been king in this life and all others. I have taken many women of that tribe to bed with me, pleasured them as my wont, and they let me. Because I am king, and it is my right to do so. I protect them, and they give unto me themselves in return. I enjoy my power. You have not. You are a princess, and you need not care what others think about whom you take to your bed at night. All that should concern them is that their bellies are full and that the walls stand. If this rodent is who you wish to share your bed with, then it is not just your choice, it is your will. Nothing else should matter. If you desire him, take him. Make him yours, and damn whoever says otherwise. You are royalty. Act like it. If you want the hedgehog, claim him. The two women were stunned to silence by his monologue. Neither of them had ever heard the Triforce user speak with such passion and conviction. It was surprising, to say the least. Zelda could only stand there, absorbing his words and seeing the truth behind them. Yes, Ganondorf, her mortal enemy, just gave her worthwhile advice. Palutena was utterly enraptured. She looked up upon him as if he were Atlas, holding the world on his shoulders. To think he had this in him. Oh, Ganny. That was... The Bandit King rested back into his seat. I merely said what she needed to hear. Speak no more of it. Ganondorf, Zelda struggled to find the words. Thank you. Ganondorf sneered. Oh, spare me. Ganny's getting restless. I hope we were able to help you. Zelda felt the stress drain out of her like water in a bathtub. You know, it really did. Thank you for the wise words, Palutena, she bowed. And to you, Ganondorf. She offered him a bow as well. If it helped, then leave. I require the goddess's attention. Look at Ganny, always begging for my attention. Your attention is what I want right now. I will want something else. I do hope you have the same amount of energy that you showed just now. Zelda offered some quick goodbyes and turned, and slowly began to exit the room. She didn't know what was going on, and she'd rather not know where it was leading. Did the power of my little speech soil your little goddess panties? That just goes to show you how little you know me, Ganny. I'm not wearing any. Zelda all but ran out of the room as fast as her legs could take her. She didn't like the implications of their conversation. She didn't like the thoughts running through her head about them, and she really, really did not like the images in her head about what they could be doing. She would need some of Samus's private stash of whiskey to erase the images in her head later. But for now, she had her answers, and she hoped Sonic would like them. Sonic hated waiting. He needed to keep moving. He had too much energy to remain still. He had been this way since he was a child, just as he was discovering his super speed. But now, he's being forced to remain still. He needed to stay still for this. He was about to enter unknown territory, and this would require him to be still. The evening sun sunk low into the sky, coloring it a delightful orange. He had been running all day, and now he stood here, next to the tree where he and Zelda often met and talked. Sonic had been thinking all day about what to say and what to do next. He was certain about what his words would be. The only problem was what Zelda was going to do. He'd hoped for the best, but was prepared for the worst. Sonic! He broke from his thoughts to look up and see the woman who had taken up his thoughts walking gracefully towards him. It was the moment of truth. He jogged over to her and greeted her. "Hey, Zelda." He was nervous. More nervous he felt in a long time. "So, how was your day?" "The day was good," she said, feeling very awkward. "Very good day." "Me too," he said, sweating up a storm. "So very good. Which was today?" "Yes, today." They stared at each other, unsure how to even start a conversation. "We need to talk," they said at the same time. They paused for a bit before breaking into a fit of laughter, breaking the tension with much-needed humor. "You start, Sonic." "You sure?" "Positive." Scratching the back of his head, the hedgehog began. "Look, Zelda, this is very new to me. All I have ever done is keep on the move. You know me. I take things as they come, and if possible, I do the right thing. I don't have a home or a place to put down roots. I just keep on moving." He shyly dug his sneakers into the ground. "So, things like this, you and me, it's so alien to me. I've never once thought of putting down roots and just being with anyone, but you're different. You let me be me. You don't try to change me into something I'm not. You're easy to talk to, more than most people I know. You're smarter than heck. You're damn beautiful, and part of me doesn't feel worthy of that. Of you. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I like you. I like you a lot. Enough that I want to settle down for a bit. And I know I'm not the member of some royal family, Sonic. And I'm not some great knight, Sonic. I'm just a silly hedgehog, and if that's not good enough, then Sonic!" His ranting was cut short as he felt a pair of hands gently cup the sides of his face. He stared directly into the eyes of the lovely princess, who was now eye level with him. Her smile was small, but brilliant as the sun. "You had me at looks, Zelda." The speedster's green eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. "I did?" She nodded before beginning her own little monologue. "Sonic, being a princess is all I know. This was the life I was born into." She glanced over her hand, the Triforce of Wisdom glowing brightly on the back of it. "I'm the player on a stage production I didn't ask to be in, but still very much a part of. Destiny has locked me into this role. I thought for a long time that I didn't have a say in my choices, what I could do, who I could fight, who I had to meet. It all had been done for me. But now, I have a choice. I can make a choice in my life that I want, not what the gods or some sages want, and I choose you. You make me smile when I'm at my lowest, and braver than almost any knight of Hyrule. I'd rather be with you than some stuffy noble or some stuck-up knight. So let's just forget about titles and species. Let's forget all those who hate that we're together. Let's just be us. What do you say? Want to take that thrill ride with me?" "Really? You want to be with me?" Zelda laughed as she kissed him on the nose. "Didn't you hear me, silly hedgehog?" Sonic's astonishment gave way to barely contained adulation upon hearing her words. "Yahoo!" he shouted as loud as he possibly could. He broke away from the girl and began to zip around like he was a charged lightning bolt, circling around her in a cone of azure. Zelda laughed at his reaction, feeling the rush of wind coming around her and blowing up her dress. Sonic then found himself in her arms, electricity flowing through him. "This is great! I mean, you and me, we're a thing," she answered. "I don't know what to say or what to do." "Wait, what do we do? I'm totally new to this whole relationship thing." "I guess we could just keep doing what we've always been doing, only a bit more cuddly." "Cuddly, yes. I can do cuddly," he joked. "Man, I must have a weakness for princesses or something." "A weakness I hope to take advantage of," she quipped. "You just keep bringing those flowers and I'll keep the chili dogs flowing. You certainly know how to keep a guy interested. So what now? How about a run?" "Really?" "Yeah. It's something we can do together. Sounds like a plan. Sonic easily scooped Zelda into his arms and prepared to take off. Just don't burn too much energy, she leaned close and whispered tenderly in his ear. You're going to need it for later tonight. A now beet-red Sonic smiled stupidly at her comment. Oh, don't worry, Zelda, he replied, pumping his legs. I've got more than enough energy for you. Promises, promises. Hold on tight! She relaxed into him, resting her head on his shoulder. Always. And with that, Sonic the Hedgehog took off with his new girlfriend, Princess Zelda of Hyrule, in his arms, running to the unknown that was their new relationship. Well, there they go, said Samus as she watched the new couple take off in a flash. She had watched the entire conversation from her viewpoint at a veranda in the mansion, thanks to a nice little telescope she had on her person. That didn't take too long, said Link, who could only have her describe what was happening. Based on how they were acting today, I figured they'd spend most of the time talking about how much people are just complain about it. Maybe they got some good advice. You're taking credit? She asked with a snarky smile. He waved her off. Nope. That was all Snake. I'll have to thank Dave when he gets back from his date. Link looked at her funny. Dave? That's Snake's real name. Link gasped in surprise. Snake has a real name? I thought Snake was his real name. Samus shrugged. Me too. Learn something new every day. But still, he does look like a David. Huh, he uttered. He does, doesn't he? Told you. She put away her telescope and smiled at him. So, Sonic and Zelda. Yep. Sounds like something out of a fever dream. But it kind of works. I mean, we've seen weirder. Link whistles. Whew. Oh, yeah. So what's the over-under on Mario finding out that Peach has been getting the hard one from Bowser? Early estimates say a year? Damn. Poor plumber bastard. Can't believe Luigi is the better brother when it comes to relationships. Got that right. Say, Link, have you ever wondered how Bowser and Peach... Link pointed at her sternly. Don't you dare finish that or I'm gone. Samus laughed as she elbowed the hero in the ribs. Fine, fine. You know you can be a prude sometimes, Link. I'm not, he shot back. I just don't want to think about the sexual habits of giant lizard dragons. She laughed at her boyfriend's comment. To her, he was utterly adorable when he was grossed out. It's part of why she liked him so much. Link flexed his arm, wincing a bit. Still sore? He nodded. Yeah, damn Ness hits like a truck. Figured, she said, beckoning him to follow her. Come on, I'll get the gel. You're just doing this to get me naked, aren't you? Samus gave a cheeky smile. Link, if I wanted you naked, I'd tell you to get naked. But yes. Link sighed as he followed her. Fine, but no funny stuff. I'm too sore. Samus gave him a wink. No promises.